of that faith. So we're going to get right into the lesson. Let's start in Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11. So once again, you have to ask yourself, we are not just in here because somebody told us that this is God. We're not just in here, or we should just say that, because somebody told us, or because our parents said that this was God. You're going to have to eventually, when you get older, decide whether this really makes sense to you or not. And when it comes to faith, making sense and reasoning is a part of it. This is not blind faith. This is faith that actually comes with tangible evidence. So we're going to get into that. Hebrews 11, Hebrews the 11th chapter, and we are going to start at verse 1. Hebrews 11 and verse 1. Go ahead. All right, so we're going to break this down, right? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. It means that the evidence of things not seen, that means you have witnesses. Look at this and that. But this evidence makes you hope for the substance of things to come. What is that substance? That's the resurrection, right? I believe that if I walk with God, He is going to give me the ability to not die, not get sick, not cry anymore, things of that nature. Oh, this is why you're doing this. Understand why you're doing this. Because we have this evidence, what does that mean? Verse 2. Right, by the elders obtained a good report. All right, so the elders have obtained a good report. That means that the information that's coming from this book, and when they give you the wisdom from this book, it's a good report. It's good, right? It's now. Go ahead, verse 3. Faith we understand that the words were framed by the word of God. Okay. So that the things which are seen were made by the things which do appear. All right, but you mean that if I see it, it can't possibly be the creator. The creator does not have an it. You cannot see him. So remember, he knows that the world was framed by the word of God, but the things that we can see were made by the things that we cannot see. In other words, we have an invisible God, right? So if I actually see idols, I cannot worship the idols of God because I see it. That's real simple, right? Skip down to verse 6 and go ahead. Faith is the person. All right. In other words, without that hope, based off that evidence, it's impossible to please God, right? Go ahead. Go ahead. What up? Right, two things. First, you gotta believe He exists. Right? That's the first step. If I don't believe God exists, then how am I going to actually believe that He's going to reward me, right? And the second thing is that I believe He's going to reward me, so I'm going to diligently seek Him, right? Once again, that is based off of evidence, right? Verse 7, go ahead. By faith, for the word of God, and the faith not seen yet. Go ahead. Fear, fear the dark, to the saving of the house. All right, so look at this. By faith, Noah was being warned of God of things not seen yet. So he was told about things that were going to come, but because he didn't see it yet, he had to have faith. But what did he do? It said he moved with fear. That's what you got to do. So faith comes with fear. I also have to fear God. That's the beginning of wisdom. Then everything else will come after, right? It says, by faith, Noah being warned of God of the things not seen yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house. Go ahead. By which he condemned the world and became the heir of righteousness by faith. Right, so you will believe in his principles as well. And then you're going to actually correct people with those same principles in love. But you will start correcting people, right? Skip down to verse 23 and go ahead. When three months parents, whatever they saw, he was a proper child. Right. They were not afraid of things to men. All right, so another thing. So somebody of authority that's against God says to go contrary to God. That is a law that they created. You're supposed to have enough faith to deny that and go through the persecution, even if he says, hey, I'm going to kill you if you don't do this. The people that really got faith, that's what they're going to do. They're going to die before they actually adhere to that king's command. They're going to go against him if he's going against God. Now, if you're not going against God, you need to listen to the laws that king has. However, if he's going contrary to God, don't listen to that king. Don't be worried about the persecution that comes with it. Right? Continue. Go ahead.
By faith, when he was come to years, by faith Moses, when he was come to years, he was to be called the son of God.
Right. Everybody in here knows about cloud chasing. Who got more clout than Aaron's son? It's something to think about. He was on the top of the royal family. That's clout. So he is going to give up all of that because he had faith in God. Means if you try to clout chase and try to go against God, what he says, you don't have faith because you're not moving with fear, right? Go ahead.
Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God.
Go ahead.
To enjoy the kingdom of sin Christ Jesus.
Now, so who's going to be, in this case, who's going to be poor with suffer affliction with the people of God, remain in the royal house of Egypt, the most powerful nation at that time. I'm going to leave that. That's something to think about. I'm going to give up all the riches in the world to please God. Right? Go ahead.
Seeing their approach of Christ, greater riches and the church's legion,
Go ahead.
he had respect unto the recompense of the reward.
Remember, you will diligently seek him if you believe in that reward, right? And he gave up all the riches of Egypt to the approach of Christ. I'm going to suffer affliction, and I might not make a bunch of money. I might not be rich. I'm willing to suffer that affliction before I go against God. Right? Let's continue. Let's go to Romans 8. Romans the 8th chapter. Romans the 8th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 24. Romans 8 and 24. Now, you have actually witnessed something, and it has come to pass that there is no more faith after that, because now I know for certain that this is happening. Faith is temporary until what is promised comes to pass. That means that I'm not going to be believing in something and there would no results show up after that. So we got to understand it. But why is it hope in the substance of things to come? Why do we hope? Verse 24, go ahead.
Yes, for we are saved by hope.
Right, so we are saved by hope. So if you want to say that we are saved, the only thing we're saved from is the hope that we possibly can get into the kingdom. You ain't saved from the wrath of God. That's one thing you have to understand. Don't let your mind trick you or anybody else trick you to think that you so saved that I can do whatever I want and God still gonna let me in his kingdom. That is not it. So it says, for we are saved by hope. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Here, why don't he get hope for?
Right, so if I'm already witnessing, why am I still hoping for it? That means I've obtained it already, so there is no more hope. I got it. If I get into the kingdom and I get this resurrected body, there is no more faith. There is no more hope. I know for certain that this was true. Right? So the only reason why you have faith is because you cannot see what has been promised. And you want to understand that, right? Go ahead, verse 25.
But if we hope for that which see not, but we hope for that which we see not, then do we with patience wait on.
So now, with patience, we have hope for something, but wait for it with patience. Because we have the evidence to believe that it's going to come. For instance, you get a job, right? You get a salary or whatever you pay hourly wages, right? Your boss is always telling you every 2 weeks or every week or whatever the case may be, they're going to pay you at the end of that cycle. Well, guess what? They paid you enough times for you to believe that they're going to pay you again. That's evidence. However, because I have not obtained my next check yet, I have faith that the boss is going to do what he said he's going to, by the evidence that he's already done. So God has already fulfilled promises already for us to believe in the promises that are to come. This is what faith is all about, right? However, once again, that does not mean we are banking off of blind faith. So let's go in deeper and to see how this actually works. Let's go to Isaiah the 41st chapter. Isaiah 41. Once again, your faith needs evidence. It needs evidence. So if you can explain yourself of why you believe in something, that is a problem. That means you need to get in this book and start studying more, right? Because God is expecting you, Israel especially, to be his witnesses. Isaiah 41 and verse 21. Isaiah 41 and verse 21. Go ahead.
Produce the cause, saying the Lord, bring forth your strong reasons, saying for King Jacob.
All right, so why? So what God is doing in Isaiah 41 is setting a criteria on how do you judge if somebody is God, right? So if these gods or these men that claim that they're God, they cannot do this, then that means the standard is not high enough for us to believe that they are God, right? They have to actually be more powerful than the God that we actually serve. So he said, produce your cause, saith the Lord, bring forth your strong reasons, saith the King of Jacob. Go ahead.
And bring forth. So it goeth what thou hast.
Go ahead. All right, so the former things are in the past. Show us some history that you can laid out for us to believe that you're God, right? The former things, right? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Consider and know the latter and the
Right, so when you're in history class, what you have is you have a record of what happened in the past, but you also get the results of that story. You must be able to do this if you are God, right? Produce a record or produce a good report that shows these things happening in life. What else did he say? Go ahead. Right, so you can say things that are going to come in the future that haven't come yet, and guess what? Once you say it, eventually it will come to pass. If you're not doing that, means you're not coming. That's the faith that you're banking on. That is the evidence that you're banking on. And of course, we got plenty of promises in this book. What else? Go ahead.
so things that are to come hereafter.
All that means that you can actually show what's going to come after this life. Because the things that are come that he said before that, that's in this life. Now show us what's going to happen after this life is over with. You have to do all these things to show that you're God, right? Go ahead.
And we may know that ye are gods.
Go ahead.
Yea, you should, for do evil, that ye may be dismayed, and behold us together.
Right, so you should be able to put some fear in somebody. That's what this means. You should be able to put some fear in somebody because you're so powerful that you can do these things that are said, right? That means that I will fear you and start listening to you and seeking the reward that you have for me, right? But what does he say for people that believe anybody else other than him is God? What does he believe in those people? Or how does he look at those people? Go ahead.
Behold, ye are nothing.
He said, sure, nothing. Anybody else that believes that anybody else, man, idol is God besides him? Go ahead. What does he say? Go ahead. So anybody that chooses God, any other God but this God of the Bible, you are abomination. That's how bold, that's how much evidence that he's bringing to the table that he is God. Right? Skip down to verse 28. Go ahead.
For I beheld, and there was no man, even among them.
Go ahead.
There was no counselor. That when I asked of them to answer a word.
All right, so nobody on this answered those questions. And that's what he's saying. Can nobody tell you about the former thing? Well, you got historians, but it's a bunch of historians that collect all this information over time. However, can those same people tell you what's going to come in the future? Can they tell you what's going to come after this life? No. So that means if you choose them, you are an abomination. And he said, I found no man that when I asked of them could give me an answer. So that's who you banking your faith off of. Somebody that can't do these things, right? Verse 29, go ahead.
They are all vanity.
Go ahead.
Their works are nothing.
Go ahead.
Go to images are wind and confusion.
So if you choose the idols of this world, you just don't stay in confusion. Because they have nothing to stand on. So once again, we're setting a criteria of why our God is the God of all gods. Right? Let's continue. Let's go to Isaiah 43. Now, just because we have evidence, we don't mean people are going to believe. Right? And in class, what we do is we show you how to cite evidence. So you got to understand, I need this skill to prove my faith. You're not just learning things in here for no reason. All right, Isaiah 43 and verse 8. Isaiah 43 and verse 8. Go ahead.
Bring forth the blind people that have eyes, and the deaf that have ears.
Right, so these people see. They're not blind. They're not actually blind, but they blind themselves to the right information. Right? So he says, bring forth the blind people that have eyes and the deaf that have ears. Now, he's going to put out a challenge to all the nations in the world about him being God. Go ahead.
Let all the nations be gathered together, and let the people be assembled. Who among them can declare this?
Right, so who among all the nations can declare these things? The things that we just read in Isaiah 41. Can declare those things, right? Go ahead. Right, and show us those former things. Go ahead.
They may justify, or let them hear and say, it's true.
Right, so let them bring forth their witnesses, right? So once you bring forth your witnesses, either show that it's not true or say that it is true and be justified if it's not true. So he is asking all the nations, bring all your evidence, bring all of the information you have to prove that I'm not God and be justified. But if you're not justified, if you don't have enough evidence and information, just go ahead and say it's the truth. Right? That is what he's saying. So he's up for the challenge. If you feel like you are not worshiping the right God, ask yourself, can any of these other gods do what he just set up as a standard? Right? That's what you want to ask yourself. Go ahead.
Ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord.
Oh, he's talking to Israel. You are the witnesses of God. So if you don't study this book and actually learn how to reason with this book, guess what? Nobody else gonna believe in God. Nobody else gonna believe that it makes sense to believe that this God is the God of all gods. And they're not gonna seek after the reward. So you got to make sure that you know what you're talking about. Right? Go ahead.
Servant, I told
Go ahead.
you, understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed.
Go ahead.
He said that
All right, so all these idols, there was no idols before him. Right? Go ahead, verse 11.
I, even I, am the Lord, and beside me there is no Savior.
Y'all better understand that besides from this God, ain't nobody gonna come and save you for all the tribulation that you are suffering. Nobody. So it don't make sense for you to have faith in anybody else but this God that we're listening to. So go ahead and test it. In your life, you're probably going to question whether this God is the real God or not. You have to keep going through this stuff so you know. And once again, you can examine whether it's true or not. Right? That's why we want to give you the skills so you can be able to do these things for yourself. Go ahead.
I have declared and have saved. I have preserved. When there was no strange God among you.
Go ahead.
Therefore, ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, that I am God.
So you are the witnesses, Israel, that the God of Israel is truly God. You are the witnesses. This is not blind faith. This is the evidence of things not seen. Because you were not there to see them, that does not mean it doesn't make sense to believe. That's what you have to understand, right? All right, let's see. Yeah, we can move on. Let's go to James, the first chapter. James, the first chapter. And once again, he's doing this so that you could see and you can know and consider together that he is the one that created all of these things. So we have to reason with each other. If you do yourself a disservice, you don't find out who the real God is. You don't actually do a diligent search on who the real God is. James 1, James the first chapter, and we're going to start at verse 5. James 1 and verse 5. Whenever you get there, you can go ahead and read.
Him blacklist, let him ask God.
So if you need help with these things to understand God more, to explain to somebody else that he's actually real, God himself, right? You can always go into prayer and ask God himself, right? So if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God. Go ahead.
But give it to all men liberum,
Go ahead.
breathing, not some innocent.
But that's how you try to play around. You can't be wavering, asking God for something, but you're not sure if he's going to actually do it. That is a weak faith, right? That's why when you go through experiences in life, he is going to reveal himself to you. And that's why he's so powerful that he can reveal himself to you and you don't even have to see him. Right? That's the God that we're dealing. Right? Verse 6, go ahead.
Waver. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed.
Go ahead.
Let not the man think that he shall speak anything on the Lord.
Right, so if you don't really believe in what I'm asking, don't even expect anything to even be given. You have to believe, and it has to be sincere belief, not faking the funk, right? Verse 8, go ahead.
Can't stay for long.
So now I'm over here, it's real, that third. But then next thing you know, man, I don't know if he's real or not. That is a double-minded person because you have two different thoughts going on at the same time. That is not going to produce actions, right? Not at all. All right, let's go to the last place. Let's go to Luke, the first chapter. Last place. So what we're going to get into is the introduction to what is the substance of things to come. We're talking about the resurrection. So now, if I don't believe in the resurrection, right? But then my faith is vain, because that is the reward. Luke 1, Luke 1 and verse 1. Luke 1 and verse 1. Now, when we come to, so we go through this in class, right? There are two types of witnesses. There's an eyewitness, and there's somebody that just heard of a primary source and secondary source. Y'all know about that already. So eyewitness, that is the most credible witness. So if I get an eyewitness, I'm going to be more prone to believe that person if they're not seen as a liar. So let's read this. Luke 1 and verse 1. Go ahead.
So taken in hand, set forth quarter a declaration of the sick which are most surely believed upon.
He said that are most surely believed among us. Right? Why is that? Go ahead.
Others, which from they were eyewitnesses, ministers of the word.
Right, so they were eyewitnesses. So we believe in the eyewitnesses that give us a report for us to have evidence to believe. Skip down to verse 4. Go ahead.
That thou mightest know certainty of those things wherein thou hast been instructed.
Right, so now, once again, they saw it. So it's for certain. The faith is the beginning process until you see what is to come. And then once you see it, it's now for certain. But remember, faith is just the beginning process of actually believing in God. Stand up, say group.
That's right.
Bye-bye. Everybody need to take care. Have a great time.